There was something that I noticed about you, and there was this great passion in your heart.
Okay.
What is driving that?
Um, it's a spontaneity, maybe. There is no name. There's no such, just inner feeling. Some feelings it's very difficult to describe. There's a force inside me. I'm not talking about Star Wars force, but there is force inside me that keep pushing me, that there is a passion, there's a very passionate about something. It can be traveling, it can be going to the forest and meditate, or it can be playing with the children. As you can see, I was known as the best babysitting mom, actually. That's different. Those kids are grown up. Almost some of them become a teenager that I used to hang out or babysit all the kids in Canada, in Colorado, not for money, but they are my friend. I'm a graduate student. The parents
Yeah.
busy at taking care of the kids also. At the same time, they allow me to stay at their places also there. So, yeah.
So great.
So, yeah, every little bit tiny thing. I'm sure you are also the same. There is a very passionate about something that I do in every field. If something's not calling me, usually I don't do yet. Yeah, I cannot describe why this is and how it is, but simply it's called the dustness. THUSNESS. Suchness and dustness.
Mm.
That's 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 how I feel that something.
Yeah. So when you do something, you do it with all your heart.
Yeah, whatever I do, I just give to myself completely, maybe completely wrong, but at least from 90 to 95, that's what I give everything. I don't give 100 to anything, including myself. Yeah, I'm not a 100 guy.
Hello, everybody. This is Sharon Land with the Thrive with Sharon podcast. And as always, I am so excited about this new venture. I still keep pinching myself with all of the beautiful individuals that I have met. And I've always said that I wish that I could record these moments. And one of those was definitely with the individual that I have today. His name is Bhante. He is the Nomad Monk. And we met actually on Clubhouse of all applications. And he has made it his mission to travel around the US and probably even more than that. We'll learn more today. So I absolutely had to have him on this podcast because I feel as though there's just so much that we can gain from understanding, just the practical questions like how do you become a monk and where do you find your calling and all of those things. And we'll see where the conversation goes from there. But Bhante, I'm so grateful that you are here. I am so blessed that now I have another friend and I just can't wait to get into this conversation. So tell me where you are right now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And so right now I'm in Washington, D.C. Actually, not inside of Washington, D.C., maybe like 16 miles away from Washington, D.C., but that's how people say in Washington, D.C., even though you are not. Like people in New York City are not actually New York City, but not very far away. So
Right.
in Maryland, it's called I think area is called Echo Cake, like 16 miles away from Washington D.C. So if you ever happen to be here, if I'm still here, so you're welcome to stay my place, too.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you so much. And that's one of the things that I said when I heard you speak for the first time. And of course, Clubhouse is an audio app, so we don't get a chance to actually have this, which is amazing that we get this extra added feature today. But I could hear the passion in your heart. And so I immediately said, I've got to send a message. I've got to say hello. And I've got to look into more of what this beautiful soul's life has been and what they're doing right now. And you've been in many different areas and you've been to many different, is it just in the US or?
Yeah, for the last few years, 3, 4, 5 years, and mostly in the US. But before I was in Canada, in Europe too, mostly the Eastern Europe, all the way from Germany to Finland, etc., Estonia, Latvia, those countries too. Occasionally, I was in London also, and then in Sri Lanka, back in Asia, mostly Sri Lanka, Myanmar, India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, where I came from, which is I think.
Mm-hmm. So you're from Bangladesh originally?
Yeah. So originally from Bangladesh, the minority group of people known as Marma people. I'm gonna spell it out: Marma, Marma people.
Myanmar.
Yeah, ethnically we are kind of connected with more people from Myanmar or the Burma, the country.
Mm.
So ethnically, my probably grandparents are from Myanmar, but they settled down in Bangladesh, called in the Chittagong Hill Tracts, and this is where I was born. Which is why I don't look like a Bengali. People from Bangladesh are known as a Bengali, more dark brown skin. So
Mm.
okay, there you go.
Yeah. So when did you decide from Bangladesh? When did you decide, okay, it's time for me to start these feet to move and have them literally traverse across the world?
Yeah, that's a very, very complicated story, experiences. Yeah, so let me begin with how I became a monk, unless you're asking that questions or.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely. I think so many people like myself
Mhm.
are really curious about that journey to becoming a monk.
Yeah, so, well, I did not become a monk because I liked it. I
Mm.
also became a monk, not I did not like it.
Mm.
uh, Becoming a monk, it's not my choice either.
Mm.
But eventually it became a choice. Eventually I like it, which is I'm still a monk. Meaning is that in our culture, in the Marma culture, perhaps any other South and Southeast Asian culture too, like Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Myanmar, etc., every male has to become a monk. Every male,
Mhm.
regardless of their status, either married, non-married, or little kids, they have to become a monk at least 3 times a year. Sorry, 3 times in their lifetime.
Okay.
So what happened was, and also when someone parents die, their son also have to become a monk. It's called a temporary ordination. So
Mm.
temporary ordination is we as a we became a monk, stay from few days to few weeks or a month, depends on how long we can stay. For monks,
Yeah.
there are so many rules regulation we have to follow. Sometimes you cannot last even for a few days also.
Mm.
So it depends on how. So what happened was when my father died, and then I became a monk. It was not my choice. My elder brother chose me to become a monk because he was the one supposed to become a monk. He's the elder one.
Ah.
But he was having an exam at the university or something. He said, simply go, you became a monk. So believing is that culturally, by me becoming a monk, uh, to give some respect, to gratitude to our parents. So parents have sacrificed a lot for us. Whatever we have, 2 eyes, 2 ear, all the clothes until we become independent. Until we became independent, parents actually supported us. So they have sacrificed a lot, all the pain, angry, worry, fear, everything. They sacrificed a lot for us, and also we have to give back to our parents too.
Mm.
Living that, so by me becoming a monk to honor my father's wishes for 7 days, and then he may have reincarnated, because the Buddhists do believe some kind of reincarnation
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Life, this life is not only life; there are multiple series of life. So he or including my mom too, they will be having better life in the future.
Mm.
So scientifically how it works that I don't know, but religious also how it works I do not know. But culturally that's how I wish I could do something for my dad parents, because I was probably 14, 15 years old. I have no idea how to pay back to my parents yet. But this is only little thing I could do it for my parents.
Right. Wow, that's very young.
Yeah, so that's how I became a monk. Only for 7 days, not for whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
the story got twisted now. So only for 7 days. After 7 days, I supposed to leave monkhood to become a lay life, normal life. I'll go back to school, high school, or something. That. Uh, but before my father died, I grown up in an orphanage. So my mother died when I was 3 years old. Then another woman came into our life. Maybe because of her, I was had to go to orphanage. That's a different story.
Mm.
So after 7 days as a monk, as a novice monk, not a full-fledged monk yet, novice monk, because I haven't received a full training yet to be a higher ordination. There's a two levels of monkhood, lower and higher. Uh, so uh, so I don't want to go back to orphanage. It's awful, very mean, very bully place. You have to be very tough guy to challenge with other students or kids there, and I cannot go back to my home either. I mean, it's also equally very mean. My
Mm.
stepmom. And only way to survive was to stay as a monk at the monastery, even though I don't like to wake up at 5. So yeah, but I got the place to stay, the food, so which is why I stay as a monk. So I extended for another week. So since then, I keep extending almost every week. Meaning, if I want to wish to leave, I can leave anytime also.
Yes, yes, yes. So from 14 years old until now, you just keep extending by a week.
Yeah, probably 14 or 15. That I do not recall. Some the time date. Yeah, it's
Sure.
very irrelevant for us. I don't have a memory of, but most likely, yeah, 14, 15, 16, in between maybe. So
Yeah. So, a teenager.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. It's like it's a double whammy, really, because like you said, there were just so many circumstances behind you trying to find, in a sense, a home,
Mhm.
right? Like your home, your heart home. And then, you suffered a loss, and the loss of your parent, and then also wanting to honor your father.
Mhm.
Um, and the fact that your brother said, well, I don't want to go, or I can't go, so you go. It's like, so you go and you make the best of it. And I'm sure then that I would love to hear more about then what compelled you at the point where you realize that, okay, well, you know, I can I can live beyond this if I want to. I can take care of myself in a way where I don't have to stay in this ordinance, right? But I choose to. So, can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I think after a few months, and also added to another twisted story.
Isn't that, oh my gosh. So, isn't that interesting that as soon as I'm talking to you about home and your heart home and family and your ancestry, that your chosen mother
Mhm.
calls you?
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
It's very sweet. Very sweet, very kind, and very caring too. And she helped me a lot for 3 years when I was in Colorado. She used to pick me up from the monastery and drop me up at the monastery whenever I had a class in the evening or late afternoon. There's no public transportation there. There are, but very not frequent like New York City. You have to
Yeah.
have a car. I
Yes.
don't have a car. I don't know even how to drive at the time. So yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so back to the story. Yeah, the story is that the area, the village when I grown up, it's one of the most at that time actually in 80s, 90s, 1980s, 90s, yeah, one of the most the violent place in terms of majority minority conflict or Buddhist Muslim conflict put in that way in religion. So in order to survive, so I had to run away from there eventually.
Mm.
Eventually, and then there are other story added, so I left just to save my life. My elder brother also, I don't want to go that now, but yeah, so eventually I went to India, from India to Sri Lanka with my own, maybe I don't know, 16 17 maybe at the time, or maybe 15, no idea the age, with
Wow.
$200. And then I was in Sri Lanka, and I had a more the Buddhist education, Buddhist monastic training, everything there in Sri Lanka. And then luckily I got a kind of scholarship to study in Myanmar, the country very close to Thailand, or also known as a Burma also earlier.
Mm.
There, and from Myanmar, from Burma, and I came back to Sri Lanka also to continue my postgraduate studies with help of my friend from Switzerland. She helped me financially. And then after that, here and there in South and Southeast Asia, occasionally in London also, there's this largest some of the a lot of Sri Lankan community also lives in London. You know, diaspora community, immigrants community, because I do speak Sinhalese language. I mean the Sri Lankan language too. So they invited me to do service because I speak English. I also speak Sinhalese also. That went very well. And then 2007, I got a scholarship from the US to continue my graduate studies. So I came to the US. And then after that, Canada, I got another scholarship from Toronto University from Canada also. And then I after that to Europe, to Estonia, for teaching at the universities there.
So
And
you taught in Europe.
yes, and Tartu, University of Tartu, or also the Tallinn University in Estonia. So,
Wow.
and
Wow.
came back to the US in 2014, 15, no, 13,
Mm-hmm.
14, maybe. And then since then I'm here mostly.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the things I think that's incredible, and everything makes sense when you look back at it, I'm sure, but it probably, I'm sure that there was no real plan in front of you that you said, okay, now I'm going to plan every move that I'm going to make for the next 5 years. Or, I think it's interesting in job interviews, a lot of times they used to ask questions like, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what are you going to do in that time? And whatever. And it's just like, I can't imagine somebody asking you that. And yeah, because you were literally just being divinely guided.
Yeah, so I mean, I claim as probably like a self-claimed nomad, maybe nomad monk. Well, the idea that the monks are supposed to be nomad monk. The
Yeah.
text, it says that in Pali or in Sanskrit, the Pali is the language of one sections of Buddhism, like especially in Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, those Buddhist tradition, Pali is their language of scriptures. They believe also the language of the Buddha also. It says the monk should be keep moving place to place for the happiness of the people like whoever, for the working for the compassionate action to the people. So we should not stay in one place. We should be constantly moving one place to another place, one cave into another cave, one tree under also another under tree. So giving whatever little wisdom we have, giving spirituality, meditation, mindfulness, etc. And that's the supposed to be monk life. But over the years, once you have a monastery temple, probably some of the monks maybe they like to stay one place rather than moving around. In my cases, choosing as a nomad life, a nomadic life, it was not also my choice. It's accidentally happened to be.
Mm.
Yeah, accidentally happened. People invites me, then I go there, and from there to another place, from there to another place. So that's how kind of happening.
Yeah. So there was this kind of welcoming, and then you said, sure. You said yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
very difficult for monks to say no. At least this monk. It's very. I mean, I have friends who are people who are therapists, psychologists. That usually say I have to practice saying no. Sometimes, yeah, it's very difficult, and I get trouble for the saying not to saying no to no. You can't sometimes you can't accept everything. Also, once you accept, then you find challenging also there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, well, it's hard for everyone to say no. I think everybody can relate to that, and having boundaries, right? And saying, well, um, especially if somebody has a need
Mhm.
where if your life is here to be of service, and somebody says, I need you, it
Mhm.
would be very hard to say no.
Yeah, it's tough, but so there you go.
Yeah. So I find that it's always fascinating because of course, conceptually, I understand that, of exactly what you've explained, which I think is great, because I don't know how many people really understand the fact that it is part of a culture that all men or young boys are kind of required or requested, strongly requested, to at least participate as and be a monk and be of service for a period of time. I didn't realize it was only a week. I think that's pretty incredible. Or the minimum requirement for the beginning is just a week. But I'm what I think is so fascinating is the fact that now, fast forward to, we've connected, and I see that on your YouTube channel and on, you know, some of your social media, that you're really showing up in places where you're required to have a voice. And you're not just, like you had mentioned, going under a canopy or under a tree, right? Which, of course, I'd love to speak to the meditative aspects of your daily practice, right? However, I think also just as much a living practice that I'm seeing you do is to really be active in advocacy.
Yeah, for me, probably for other monks too, rather than living a seclusion life, you know, away from the society, uh, engaging with the society, I find there is enlightenment, there is awakening. So if I have something keeping myself living in the forest, you know, by keeping myself, whatever practice that I do, or doing without any services, there are two kinds of monks. One is called Arenyawasi in Pali again, and the Nagarawasi. Nagara is a city. Wasi is people who lives in the city. So the literal translation is city dweller monk, the monk who lives in the city.
Huh.
Another group of monk is called Arenyawasi. The monk Arenya is forest. So the monks who lives in the forest.
Hmm.
So usually the monks who live in the forest has a more time for spirituality, but we can practice spirituality even in cleaning the toilet too. But
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
yeah, but the monks in the forest dweller monk has a more time for themselves, you know, to practice meditation, to practice spirituality. On the other hand, the monks who lives in the city has a more social responsibility. Like people, we, for example, whenever I'm in the city or in the town, so people in, like for example, I'm coming to New Jersey next weekend, or this weekend actually, to give a blessing and prayer for 2 years old girl. That's how the city dweller monk have some responsibility. Or there is a hospice related, you know, we have to go to hospital, taking care of the sick people, including prayer, giving a talk, also dharma talk, and doing all other social services also. That's the city dweller monks they do. So I'm kind of in between. There are sometimes when I need it more peaceful, I go back to the forest and stay there, or maybe self retreat like this place. There's no one. Actually, there's another one. He will be friends who just came from Michigan. He will be staying for maybe a week or two. It's good for actually for self retreat. You're welcome also to join with me anytime. One of my friends actually may be coming to Honduras in 10 days maybe. So she will probably stay for, I don't know how long she will stay. So it's a nice place. And on the other hand, so I like do service stuff. Well, I like to be that more likely service oriented also. By doing service to other, I'm serving myself too. I find peace, I find very peace, I find very happy, I feel very content. Because as a monk, I'm not allowed to work or make money, so I cannot give any kind of financial help to other people. But I can do by giving some advices, a small beautiful thing, maybe reading some poem or cleaning up other thing. That's the way I can do it. That's what I've been doing also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Besides political activism, also I am. You probably saw on Instagram last Saturday we had a thousands people gather at the Washington D.C. We were marching, doing protests also from White House to all the way to Capitol Hill also, to bring some kind of justice and to bring democracy in Myanmar also. If you don't know, I'll tell you later context of why we were doing.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think, well, I mean, that's the thing is I think that you are, that's where I really see a lot of your passion. And it's really incredible to see you being of service in that way. I want to circle back to something that you said that I think that it's something that I've found is, you know, becoming more and more prevalent. And I think that more individuals, especially in spiritual communities, right, which I think it's almost like an oxymoron to say a spiritual community, because really to really truly be of the essence of true spirituality, everyone is your community. Right? But just to kind of, come and speak, I think that the greatest aspect that we are here to evolve into is this different way of energetic exchange, right? So you talked about the aspect of money and the fact that, you can't give $5,000 or $1 million to someone. You can't pay someone for being of service to you. However, you can, who you are and your act of service is your currency.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. I wonder, do you give it much thought, or what your thoughts are on the fact that, do you think that we can all live that way?
I don't think so. Not everyone can do it, which is why we have 5 fingers, all the difference. So we do need different people in different services. If
Mm.
everyone is the same boat or same doing the same thing, it would be also very boring.
I love that. I love that. Yes. I really love your answer on that, because I think that where some people tend to start to suffer is they feel as though they have this idea, that they have this concept that, because maybe things have been so polarized for them in their lives,
Mhm.
that they have this idea of maybe a way that they would like to live their lives. And
Mhm.
so they want everyone to live that way, because then it would, I don't know the reason why, because I think everybody is individual, and I think that all of their motivations and reasons are different. But do you find that there is a certain element of suffering when people are choosing to have such a myopic way? So just a one way. I love the fact that you said, we have 10 fingers, right? We have
Yeah,
different fingerprints on our own, right? We have even on our own hands, every
yeah,
single finger has a different fingerprint, right? So yeah. What are
yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Same question I was asked maybe 2 weeks ago. One of my friends, when he came to DC. He had the same question too. He was kind of afraid that if everybody will become a monk, what happened to the universe, to the earth? What would happen to reproductions or the child, human population, etc. Answer is simple. I don't think that there will be all people want to become a monks or nuns. Yeah, it's a straightforward. Not everyone wants to become a monks or nuns monastic life. It's not that easy. If there is a call for someone, there will be coming. So not everyone. Okay, I'm kind of lost. What was your
Well,
question?
I guess that my question wasn't necessarily that everybody should become a monk, but that we would see the way that our currency is
Mm-hmm.
currently set up, and it, regardless of really of any country at this point, we kind of all like have the same thing but a little bit different, with a different aspect of currency, but it's all the same kind of exchange system, but we're talking about a different energetic exchange,
Oh,
right?
I think I do remember the suffering. Yeah, I think some people choose to suffer sometime. It's I cannot represent also what's going on in their mind, in their head, in the brain. Also, why they choose that way. But I do feel sometimes I do like to sometimes I want to be feel sadness occasionally. I don't want to. I want also cry to sometime also. Actually, yesterday I feel a little bit sad. Nothing to do with anything. I just simply just want to be sad. So I was just walking actually, and then thinking some kind of very nostalgic other stuff too. It's good. So yeah, it's good. There are moments we need to be sit down and reflect the past, how it went through. If you feel sad, just accept it and then let it go. But should not inviting those sadness all the time. That's not good. Including the whatever emotions we're having, just stay for a while, just play a little bit. That's what I do. If I'm angry, I like to play with angry, and then okay, move on. I have other things to do. I have Netflix to watch it. Don't come too much angry to me. Yeah. And then after that, okay, I just want to feel angry. Okay, I'm gonna do something. Okay, I just do something to be angry. That's a human part. That's a fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it really can be fun to just allow yourself to be human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that a monk does that too.
Yeah, I don't know the other monks, but I do sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that you're speaking for all monks. I don't think anybody would, but I appreciate you really making sure that that's clear because, it's important to know that. Um, what would you say if you were to have to choose one gift, one blessing for you in your own growth? Because I mean, think back to when you were 14, 15, 16, when you decided, or where you were kind of not able to decide, but you were forced into this being in this life,
Mm-hmm.
and now,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the experiences that you've had. What would you say your greatest gift is that
To
you've received? Yeah,
myself,
you've received from your journey.
it's very simple and very straightforward without any thinking, no pausing. I think good health. If I'm a good health, I think I can take care of myself, including my all the happiness, contentment, social service, including under the health. If I'm good health, I can do millions things myself at the same time doing myself. Also, I'm doing the others also. And there is a saying in one of the texts that I was supposed to memorize actually. I don't- but I think I will be paraphrasing. Uh, it says that health is the greatest wealth.
Yes,
Is the greatest wealth. So if you're in good health, all everything will come to you. All the resources with money, with happiness, with pleasure, or including pain, unpleasant too. Everything's there. So any gift that given to me is all the gifts of the good health. And because of good health, I was able to meet you on Clubhouse and now on Zooming and recording. And likewise, there are millions other people I met also.
absolutely. And the same goes for me too, right? Because I have had quite a journey of health. That's actually been part of my karmic journey in this lifetime, is to really uh, transmute and encounter all different types of dis-ease
Mhm.
and learn how to create harmony and balance and health within that. And so I completely agree with you. And I love to hear you say that. And health is not just of the physical body, right? What do you refer to when you're saying health? Like, what do you think of when you say health?
Taking care of my spirits, my inner spirit or inner consciousness, so inner voice, inner mind, and then taking care of my body, and which is how I walk at least 3 to 4 miles a day every day. Well, I'm a monk. I don't make money. I don't have an insurance, so I have to take care of my body. How I stay healthy. So I do have a Medicaid from New York State. They give me, that's I'm very grateful for that to the state of New York and to the U.S. For that. So which is why I need to be, and taking care of my mind and body. So I do. I think we will talk also later on. Yeah, I do it twice a day meditation. Also taking care of my inner spirit inside during the meditation, and also post meditation after done sitting meditation. So yeah, so I'm since beginning of pandemic last year, and I decided that I like to go to different waterfall, forest, river, mountain, more with nature actually, which is why I decided to visit and for at least 20 to 30 waterfalls this year. And so far, I've been to a 12 waterfall. So whenever people invite me, when I come to New Jersey this weekend, I check it. There's another waterfall, not very far away from you, maybe 1 hour, half away there. So I'd like to go there. I like to meditate for 5 to 10 minutes there by the waterfall and do hiking. You're welcome if you're free to join with me too.
Oh, I would love to. I would love to. We'll have to talk about the details of that later. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So you have goals. You set goals for yourself. And
It's
then,
Having a goal is important too. I know that. I mean, there are two kinds of philosophy all the time. The group will say we need to go. Other will say don't need to go. I'm kind of in between. There are moments we have to make a plan, and A and B. There are option stuff, and there are times you don't have to. Just go there and have fun, and spontaneous things will come, fall, unfold it. At the same time, we have to have some kind of goals too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Too. Yeah, mhm.
I agree with I'm totally hear you on that. It's finding that balance, that discernment between for instance, like when we first started, before we started recording, I just wanted to make sure, because all of the guests are a little bit different in the way that they like to handle the interviews. And so I just wanted to make sure, do you have anything that you wanted to talk about? Is there anything in particular? And you said, no, I'm just really spontaneous. I just want to laugh. And I said, oh my gosh, that's so great. Like, you're speaking my language, because I'm very much that, just be in the moment and allow whatever needs to come through to come through. And I think that that's really great, especially when it comes to meeting new people and allowing yourself to explore life. Yet at the same time, if we don't have other goals that are like I call them like the foundation, right? If we don't have a foundation, then it's hard for us to really receive all of the blessings and have a place to hold it, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are people that I met along my journey is that people who have very meticulous planning. Also, people at the end, they're kind of frustrated. They want to be like a nomad life too. There are a lot of blogs to such as stories also. At the same time, there are people who have been very spontaneous, and by 30, 40, they realize that, oh, we haven't done that. They pre-cut something. That's why you need to have some kind of planning, goal, and then there are things you enjoy also. Then you can, if you balance, there's less suffering, less painful, less worry, less stress.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And so just kind of getting back to the aspect of health, because I think that this fits into it, which is being flexible, like having the goal, but also being flexible, because that really speaks to resilience. And so when we talk about health, we talk about strength, but strength isn't something that's really super hard and firm that, is inflexible. And so when you talk about the mind, you talk about meditation, you talk about your emotional health, like all of those things are very kind of, you're creating that flexibility, so that you can really fully embrace life and live it to its fullest extent, and still be of service and still keep moving forward in your goals. Do you find that, was that challenging for you to find that, like, kind of perfect spot or perfect balance for you of how much and what, and or was that something that, I find for me it's always been a little bit of a struggle, because I am very I guess that they would, like, I have a lot of air. So I'm very much like, I like to just kind of, float around. So for me, like, sticking to something same every day is a little bit challenging. But how is it for you? I mean, do you find that it's been easy?
It's not much different, not different than yours. Every thing. Yeah, there are some challenges. I think the challenge brings some blessing too. If you accept it, there are some good things in challenge.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not that pleasant feeling or pleasant experience, but it has some good blessing. So, and then yeah, I do not believe in perfectionism. Something perfection is very boring for me. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but yeah, just simple. There is some challenges to keep balance between these two, but eventually at the end, I believe I will be okay. I'll be fine. I'll be good because, for me, the inner resources, the inner wealth is more important than other stuff. That doesn't deny that other people make different thing. I do respect that. Do whatever you want to do too, as long as they don't bother me. So yeah, there are some challenges, but challenges are good.
I completely agree. I think some of my life's greatest challenges were my on the other side of working through it and clearing the path through it, were some of my greatest gifts.
Yeah, challenges are more exciting.
Yeah.
It's very
I love that
exciting.
perspective. Okay, so next time I'm going to just say it's exciting when I have a challenge. Oh, I love that. And I'm also, by the way, really glad that we've met now because I am a recovering perfectionist. And so I was really boring before because I just, oh, it was terrible. It was, yes, it was a terrible, terrible time being a perfectionist. Um, but because of what I do and who usually typically will arrive at these discussions, either listening or watching on YouTube,
Mhm.
Most people are at some sort of a crossroads in their life, or they're really looking to kind of up level or upscale or grow or expand or, and maybe even they might have some barriers.
Mhm.
What would you want to offer? We're leaving a legacy right now. Your life is really literally a legacy. Your life is a legacy in and of itself with every single person that you've met. But what would you like to share now? Or do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, probably good and bad. And if it is legacy of my life, and I guess so, you're right, maybe in future, which is why my memoir is entitled as Bad Monk, Bad Stories.
Is that published?
No, not, yeah, I'm still working on, there are so many stories. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
Bad,
cannot wait. You have to let me know when that's published.
so that's going to be, yeah. That's where I want to leave it. Yeah, not everything's good. Well, actually, this the idea came into the bad monk bad stories is that before I became a monk, I was in an orphanage. I was reading a book called "The Bad Girls, Bad Stories."
Oh.
She was born into Muslim families. I don't think that she's a Muslim practitioner, but because of her cultural thing, she was a very rebellious girl. She doesn't fit into the Muslim narrative, da 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 da. So I can kind of fit into the narrative still. So, and if you're against, you're bad, even though you do nothing wrong. We all know that if you're not fit into the certain type of stereotype narratives, you're kind of not good in many ways. In every religious tradition that we find such thing too.
Mm.
Every religious tradition. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's okay that when life hands you circumstances that
Mhm.
don't necessarily fit into the structure or the mold or whatever, and you say, well, with the way that the world is, I don't like any of the choices going forward with trying to deal with this challenge. However, if I can step outside of this structure and really be more of who I am and be creative and resourceful, then like that actually feels really right. And so if somebody within that system thinks that I'm bad, then let them call me bad because this is really my path. It's kind of
Yeah, that I think that's the most of the monks probably struggle such. They are not go out of that traditional box that I am or I was able, maybe because I'm more independent because I had a scholarship from America, from Canada or Europe. So I've been more free spirit than other monastic, other my monks friend, which is why many of my monks friend no longer monks actually they left. They're in New York City, they're in Australia, in Canada, yeah, some of them having a family. Another person became a policeman also. I've
mm,
been trying to. I asked him one of my friends. We used to stay in the same monastery back in Myanmar. He was a monk. As a monk, we usually preach. We tell the people, the lay people, or our followers, students that we should not hold the gun. We're against the violence. At the same time, he's a policeman. He's holding the gun. How does he feel? He has not answered. He haven't answered my question yet. I hope he's a good cops. Maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It is. It's up to us. How do we make our life more meaningful, more service to ourselves? Meaning either I want to make my other people or I want to make happy myself or in between. So if I'm afraid, if I fear or stress out what other people think, what other monks community think, I would never be happy also. I will be slave to them. making all of them happy. At the same time, my mental health is not very good then. And now I'm outside of this, I do have a good, in touch with them, all are good.
Yes.
So at the same time, I enjoy my freedom, my liberation.
Yes.
Not that easy, but it is. Yeah.
And what you speak of is so common. I think that your experience of thinking, your thought process of comparing yourself to other monks and how they might live and how they're trying to, work or fit in or whatever, you're just like, I'm a free spirit. I have to choose to be in the ordainment, but at the same time, be me within that.
Mhm.
And that is liberation, and that is real true liberation. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, and along the way, we met such people, like-minded people all the time.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, yeah, I met things. So yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the things that drew us together, because I am very much a free spirit as well. So that's definitely always been part of my MO for sure. So I spoke of this in the very beginning, and this is the last question that I'm going to ask you, because I'm so grateful that you had this time to share. And I look forward to being able to have another conversation with you. So there was something that I noticed about you, and there was this great passion in your heart.
Okay.
What is driving that?
Um, it's a spontaneity, maybe. There is no name. There's no such, just inner feeling. Some feelings it's very difficult to describe. There's a force inside me. I'm not talking about Star Wars force, but there is force inside me that keep pushing me, that there is a passion, there's a very passionate about something. It can be traveling, it can be going to the forest and meditate, or it can be playing with the children. As you can see, I was known as the best babysitting monk, actually. That's different. Those kids are grown up. Almost some of them become a teenager that I used to hang out or babysit all the kids in Canada, in Colorado, not for money, but they are my friend. I'm a graduate student. The parents busy at taking care of the kids also. At the same time, they allow me to stay at their places also there. Yeah.
So great.
So yeah, every little bit tiny thing. I'm sure you are also the same. There is a very passionate about something that I do in every field. If something's not calling me, usually I don't do yet. Yeah, I cannot describe why this is and how it is, but simply it's called the thusness. Thusness. Suchness and thusness.
Mm.
That's how I feel that something.
Yeah. So when you do something, you do it with all your heart.
Yeah, whatever I do, I just give to myself completely, maybe completely wrong, but at least from 90 to 95, that's what I give everything. I don't give 100 to anything, including myself. Yeah, I'm not a 100 guy. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to, we need to keep it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love your heart. I love your passion. I love your service. And I'm so grateful that now I have another beautiful friend in my life, because I really feel like we are so much better when we surround ourselves with people who are inspiring and who we can connect with on so many different levels. And so I am so eternally grateful for this moment and for you and for all that you've done in this world. And now, especially because I get to be alongside a portion of that journey, and who knows how long that's going to be. So I want to thank you again for joining me today. And hopefully today won't be the last day that we have this type of conversation. And I'm going to leave all of your information in the comments information below. And I want to just express all of our gratitude for your presence today, and for all of the beautiful gems of wisdom that you shared, and for sharing a part of your life. It's really incredible. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you some blessing, okay? Give me one. So yeah, thank you for having me. I was so happy to talk. I haven't spoken with anyone yet. You are the first person to talk in the afternoon. And then my mom called me, which is blessing. I'll call her back right after we're done. So I'll do some blessing for you and for everyone too. Sabbi Buddha Balapatta Pacchika yang balang Arahantanancha tejena rakhang bandami sabbesu Sabbe dhamma balapatta paccekanancha yang balang Arahantanancha tejena rakhang bandami sabbesu Sabbe sangha balapatta paccekanancha yang balang Arahantanancha tejena rakhang bandami sabbesu Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakhantu sabba devata Sabba buddha nubhavena Sabba dhamma nubhavena Sabba sangha nubhavena Sada sati bhavantu te. May you be well. May you be safe. May you find peace. May no harm comes to you. Thank you. Okay, yeah, likewise.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna